You want to make a silk flower bouquet that looks realistic with quite a bit of visual interest. And you want to know how to make a bouquet with spiraling stems, how to get it in a nice round shape, and of course, how to avoid making your bouquet super fake. Hello, my name is Janet. I'm passionate about silk flowers and I want to help you decorate your home and wedding, create memorable moments. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this elegant winter bouquet step by step. I would share my tips on how to get your bouquet looking beautiful from top to bottom so you can make bouquets with confidence.
For this bouquet, you will need some pliers, floral wire or zip tie, floral tape, scissors, and hot glue gun. In order to show you that we don't need a lot of colors and varieties to make a bouquet look interesting, I'm only using white and green this time. I'm using two types of ranunculus: cabbage rose, Belgravia rose, some berries, and eucalyptus. Notice that I've picked flowers of various sizes so that the bouquet won't look flat and boring.
At this stage, I've already prepared the stems to the length I need, deformed my roses, and removed excess leaves. If you're not sure how to extend the length of a stem with floral tape securely and smoothly, I have another video which you can check out up in the top right corner and down in the description box below. And because I do not like the edges of my flower petals fraying, I've taken the time to seal them off before prepping the flower stems. If you are a perfectionist like me and you want to learn how to do that, I've also recorded a video for that. You can also find it down in the description box below.
First, I start off with a cabbage rose. I want the ranunculus to be the main flower for this bouquet, so I do not mind the cabbage roses hidden in the middle or at the sides, makes them less visible. Then I add in a ranunculus with a bit of green. I hold these stems together with my thumb and my index finger. Then I add in a stem of large ranunculus. I slide the stem in from the right, laying on top of the two stems that were already there, and I twist them all together away from me, doing a quarter turn. This is very important. Next, I add some berries. Again, carefully slipping the stem in from my right and turn. Next up, a cabbage rose. Laying it on top from the right, slide in my fingers and turn. Then a eucalyptus. And some more berries. Next up, a rose. I've changed out the original stem because it was too short to work with. Then a eucalyptus. I make sure the top of the eucalyptus is above the rose next to it to create more dynamic. Next up, a stem of small ranunculus. Having the flowers sitting on different levels really help create more depth and interest. Then a stem of the large ranunculus. Here you can see I have two stems of the large ranunculus sitting close to each other, which wasn't a very good idea. I will show you how I fixed it in a bit. Here you can see the spiral stems going pretty well. Then a eucalyptus. A medium-sized green ranunculus. Again, you can see that I've placed it over the cabbage rose on purpose. Next up, a stem of small ranunculus. Because they are the smallest amongst the flowers, I have them sitting above everything. Now I will show you how I've changed out the original stem of the Belgravia rose. Basically, I pinched the stalk using one hand and pull the stem off with the other hand. You can see the stalk after I've popped the rose off. And I'm going to attach it to the long stem, which I've bought separately. Because the leaves on this stem doesn't look very nice, so I've taken them off. And I've added more berries. I made sure they sit above the cabbage rose. Then a eucalyptus. Here I'm taking the second stem of large ranunculus out because I don't want flowers of the same look being close together. Silk flowers tend to have more or less the same size for the same type of flower. If you place them very close together in a bouquet, you could risk making your bouquet looking flat. That's why I need to move it to somewhere else. Then I've added in a rose and some more berries sitting under the ranunculus. You can see I was more than halfway done here. Right now, the bouquet wasn't round enough yet. Another cabbage rose under the ranunculus. And a Belgravia rose. Eucalyptus. I wanted to cover the stem of the rose. Another rose to fill up the gap. Now you can see the shape of the bouquet is much rounder than before, but you can see that I have two pieces of eucalyptus stuck together on the right, which I didn't like very much, so I have to edit that. Again, I have the top of the eucalyptus sitting above the rose. And I'm doing more editing by taking a stem of the Belgravia rose from the back and putting it in the front just to fill up the gaps. And you want to make sure there's something for you to look at, not just on the top but also sideways of the bouquet, not just bare stems. Almost there. Another stem of berries to fill up the gap at the back. If you remember from the very beginning of the video, you could see two ranunculus flowers were stuck on one single stem, and this had hindered me to adjust the height of the flowers with ease. So here I'm gently pulling out the stem of the ranunculus and separate the two flowers. And I've moved this smaller green one to the front. And then I carry on editing by taking out a eucalyptus from the back. And I'm done! Now I'm going to tie the bouquet with some floral wire. I have taken a piece of floral wire and folded it in half. Then I wrap it round very closely to where I held the stems and twist. Make sure you twist the bouquet but not the wire. If you twist the wire, it will never be tight enough, and your stems would slip out of their positions. Unlike real flowers, sometimes the plastic stems don't have enough friction for the wire. Sometimes I would tie another wire just to be safe, or I would use zip tie. Now you can see I have tied it super tightly. The stems didn't fly off even though I've thrown the bouquet in the air. Now you can see clearly all my flowers were sitting on different levels. And it's perfectly fine to have some of the flowers slightly hidden underneath the others. That creates more visual interest and more depth for the bouquet. Here you can see two of my ranunculus were sitting on the same level, which was something I didn't want. I was trying to bend the stem for one of them. However, the stem of this ranunculus was quite resistant to my bending. Eventually, I had to pull it out and separate the two flowers into two single stems in order to adjust the height of each individual flower separately. I could have avoided this in the very beginning by keeping just one flower on each stem. Here you can see two eucalyptus on both sides of the bouquet. The pointy bits on the top look exactly the same. I need to chop one bit off, because in the nature you won't get two pieces of eucalyptus looking exactly the same. If I had let them be, that would make the bouquet look very thick. Again, checking all my flowers on different levels. Even though the flowers are sitting on different levels, you can still see the bouquet is in a round dome shape. Then I found there's a stem I had the leaf taken off, showing too much of the stems. So I've decided to put one leaf back on, probably a nicer leaf than the original ones that were on there.
It is important to cover up the stems on the side because you never know from which angle the wedding photographer is going to take a photo or do a video. Sometimes they make the brides do weird poses that shows the bottom of the bouquet, which I do not understand. But then that pushes us to be mindful for every single detail that's on the bouquet and maybe under the bouquet as well. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button for me so that I know you're following me. Let me know down in the comments below what kind of bouquets you would like to see next.
Then I found a leaf under the wire that I had my bouquet tied, which definitely has to be gone, otherwise it would get in the way when I wrap the bouquet. Finally, I'm ready to chop off the excess stems. When deciding where to cut my stems, I like to grab the bouquet at the tallest point and leave about an inch from the edge of my fist. That would leave enough length for the bride to hold the bouquet.
Unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery when I was about to cut the stems, so I do not have a footage for that. I'm terribly sorry, but I hope you've got the idea for how to cut the stems.
Here you can see my bouquet standing on its own with the spiraling stems.
Because the ends of the stems could be quite sharp and almost dangerous, which could damage delicate fabrics. So usually I would take an extra step to seal the stems off. However, because of the length of the video is getting quite long, I've put the tutorial for sealing the flower stems in a separate video. You can find that up in the top right corner or down in the description box below. And for the same reason, I've put a tutorial for how to wrap your bouquet with ribbons in another video. Be sure to check that out if you're not sure how to wrap your bouquet with ribbons. I would see you over there.